of yours. So today, actually, what I want to talk about in expanding on what I was just talking about, hang on, my notes just went off and I want to make sure I have them here, um, is as we continue to grow our business, we actually tend to wow, my ADD is like crazy. I've got like cars driving by, the mailman, like I just like need to focus for a minute. And this is actually what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about as our business continues to grow, what happens is, we're in the people business, right? So your volume is a direct reflection of the people you're bringing into your business. And people all have personalities. And people all have emotions that are reflected with those personalities and their feelings. And those emotions and those feelings and the people themselves create the action that creates the movement within your business. Now, the more people we bring in, they always say, the more people, the more problems. And for some people, when we reflect, like when we like look at that and you realize, okay, I've got one person over here that tends to be what we'll call a problem maker, which I'm going to really get into in a second, that what will I do with 10 of those? Like, what will I do? Like, this person is creating issues or conflict or situations that is already taking so much of my time. What if I had 10 of those? And so what you do, because realistically in your mind, you're like, okay, that's too much. You actually prevent yourself from growing your business. Oh my goodness gracious. My daughter is literally messaging me, calling us on Facebook. This is also what happens when you give a 7-year-old Facebook Messenger to our family chat. So, excuse me, because that just popped up on my call here. Oh my goodness. See, this is why my children should really be in school. And I posting these. Anyway, if you guys do not ice your Love Cafe or Neuro or Therma, you're missing out. It's really good. So situations, that's what we're going to talk about, because again, I have situations with my children home at the moment. But you actually prevent your business from growing because you're like, this is too much. So if I had more, I wouldn't be able to handle it. So what we're going to talk about today has to do with, someone just asked for my ice recipe. You take water and you put the Love Cafe in and oat milk and my frother and ice, and we're golden. That simple, you guys. That simple, not fancy. So what I want to talk about today is the perspective we have and the perspective we take on what we call problems. Now, I want to actually go a little bit deeper into problems versus situations. Most things that we consider problems are actually not problems at all. And I want you to really reflect on this. A problem is something that is so big and so deep that it's going to require pretty much all of your attention. For example, cancer. That's a problem. That is going to truly, you most likely have to shift your entire life to address that. Now, some could still call it a situation, but again, that too is your perspective. And for most people, you will call that a problem, not a situation. A situation, a package wasn't delivered on time, it's missing, it got returned, got sent to a P.O. box, and for some reason that got shipped back, trying to figure out what's going on. Someone is missing a product from their package. Someone is upset because someone joined somebody else in another team. Those are not problems, you guys. Those are situations. Those are situations that when you take what we're going to talk about today, the ego perspective on, it isn't life or death. It doesn't directly affect you. And when you wake up 10 years from now, you're not going to even remember it. Those are situations. We want to completely shift. Yeah, somebody said not heart surgery. We want to completely shift how we're looking at things by taking an eagle perspective. Okay, so I want you to, hang on, I'm just looking at what I write here so I make sure I don't forget. Okay, so I want you to think about this for a minute. I'm going to share an example, actually, that Stephen Covey talks about in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You know, I read that back in graduate school when I was like 22, so 20 something years ago. And it actually was one of the most impactful books I've ever used in my business. So if you haven't, you know, even though it is a much older book, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is very valuable in business. And he shares this story. He talks about he talks about being on the subway. And you guys, sorry, my dog isn't out here. Like when you talk about distractions, this is like real life in business that you could say is a problem, but really they're just situations that are like very distracting for my ADD today. She's like really like right here. And I would unblur so you guys could all see it, except I had to completely redo my entire office because she peed all over my stuff last week, all over it. I had to throw everything out. I don't even know what happened in here, all over it. And so we had to completely move everything, and it is all over my office. That's why I won't unblur it. Otherwise you would see her sitting right here. Again, temporary problem, and it did make me cry, but it was really just a situation because, you know, long term you will not remember it. So Stephen Covey talks about he gets on the subway and he's seeing these kids run up and down the subway, and they're pretty much out of control. They're bothering people, they're really loud. And he finally said to the guy, he's like, "Hey, excuse me, can you control your kids? Like they're really disturbing everyone." And the guy goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize it. We just left the hospital, and their mom, my wife, just died. And I think they're not like processing it, and just like me, I guess. And I'm so sorry. I'll talk to them." And instantly, Stephen Covey realized his perspective went from "this is a problem, these people are annoying me, this is an issue," to suddenly a place of compassion, and felt like, oh my goodness gracious. And it completely shifted his perspective. This is what happens with these situations within our business, especially with people and personalities. Remember, people and personalities, okay? People and personalities. Keep saying this. People all have personalities. Not all personalities are going to mesh. Not all personalities are going to get along. You guys, that's okay. We're designed to do that. If you think that your business is going to be a big hug of kumbaya, you're absolutely crazy, because where there's conflict, there's leadership. Where there is difference in personalities, there's leadership. We want leadership to grow our business. This is actually where the eagle perspective comes in super important, because the greater perspective we see in our business, the less likely you're going to use your personality to actually impact another person's personality by having an emotional reaction. And your emotions actually are the greatest liability you have in your business. Can you guys please write this down? Because there is no greater liability that any of you have in your business. In business, we have assets and we have liabilities. All business. Doesn't matter if it's network marketing or anything else. Your emotions, making emotional business decisions, is your greatest liability, because emotional decisions bring people into business and emotional decisions bring people out. So I want you to think about this for a second, okay? Just think about this for a second. Because just like I mentioned with Stephen Covey and what he took one situation that was very uncomfortable and he didn't like, and he shifted it and came to a place of compassion. I want you to just sit with that for a second and think about a situation in your life. This could be in your business. This could be in your household. It could be with your children. It could be with a friend. Something that is not desirable that's happening in your life right now. And even if you have the most peaceful life ever, we all have something. It could be a neighbor. It could be just like I said with my dog peeing all over my stuff. And there was a reason she did that. And a health thing, and she was trying to get my attention, right? So there are often, I want you to think about those situations and something that is undesirable. And it could be something that could be a problem, like heart surgery, something that 10 years from now you'll look back and this was a huge turning point in your life. Or it could be a situation. It doesn't matter. But I want you to think about that. And I want you to look, just observe it. Are you seeing this as the be all end all? It's causing emotional reactions. Or are you seeing this as opportunity? Because the eagle has no opinion. The eagle can fly higher than any other bird except a vulture, which is interesting because eagles are hunters and vultures are scavengers. In fact, a lot of times around here, I'll see them circling together where there'll be vultures. I'll see an eagle with them, which is always very fascinating to me. So this is a true story. Since 2022, I see anywhere between 1 to 6 bald eagles a day. And I live in New Jersey. Most people don't even know bald eagles exist in New Jersey. And somebody asked me, they said, Tara, how do you see so many eagles? And so many eagles, like you guys, when I see so many eagles, like there's a joke that somebody, like one of my friends is like, you're just gonna put your arm out one day and one's gonna land on you. Like they come out of nowhere. They swoop down in front of my car. One is swooped down right next to my car and picked a bunny up right off the side of the road and flew off, like crazy stuff. So like I see so many bald eagles, it's absolutely crazy. So this has been something that has gotten my attention, and I've really zoomed into this because they started showing up for me when I was going through a really hard time in my life and I needed to get clearer perspective. This is actually like I've journaled more on eagles than probably anything else in my journals, you guys, because of how the eagle perceives. So an eagle doesn't make a nest low to the ground. The eagles build nests very, very high, and they build massive nests that they continue to come back to. They protect the area fiercely, but the reason they have, and even on a ship, you guys, it's called the eagle's nest for a reason, because you're getting the highest perspective on the ship to see the greatest area. When you talk for an eagle will continue to zoom out as far as it needs to see a 360-degree area of the land, perspective of the land, to see where it needs to hunt. Then it focuses its perspective in for precision. It uses, write this down too, perspective for precision. The greater perspective you have in a situation, the more precise you can be with the choices you make and how to approach it. You no longer are in reaction and response, but you are in pause, observe, and decide what outcome do you desire from this situation. Okay, I'm actually removing problem from this because big problems is really not what this focuses on more, though you can take an eagle perspective on it. But for situations, it's easier to decide what outcome you desire in it. And then from that greater perspective, what choices you're going to make to lead towards the desired outcome. Because the road ahead is not directly in front of you. And if you're seeing everything like this in a very narrow perspective, you actually will not see if something's going to come at you. See, eagles get the biggest perspective and have very few predators because of this. They are one of the greatest predators because of their perspective. And they usually do not even miss a kill. Once they come in, their precision is so sharp because they have this perspective. So what's interesting about this, you guys, is you can look at this yourself. So I want you, all of you guys, just take a deep breath for a minute. And if you can, don't do this while you're driving, okay? Come back and listen to it later if you're driving. But if you're not driving, just close your eyes for a second. Place your hands on your heart. And I want you to take a really deep breath into your heart center space. When we breathe in, and I've talked a bit about this before, but when we breathe into the body, we connect into presence. And all choice exists in the present moment, all of it. Every 10 seconds, you have a choice. Every 10 seconds, you choose again, and you choose again, and you choose again. But what happens is we get so determined, our ego gets so determined that the choice we made had to be right, that we keep choosing even if that choice no longer feels right, because we are on a path to win. And we're going to get into right and wrong in a second and what actually winning is. But I want you to breathe into your chest and get very present. Breathe into your belly, breathe into your chest, and get very present in your body. Now, I want you to keep your eyes closed and think about a circumstance in your life right now that is not desirable. If there's a person in your business, if there's something that's happening, that's going on, a situation, a circumstance, something that is happening that is not what you would choose. Maybe it's not peaceful, maybe it's not fun. And this is personal to you, please. We have a lot of situations happening globally in the world right now that will be very overwhelming if you approach it from this place. But when we choose personally, and we choose within what we can control personally, we actually can make a bigger impact collectively. So go into just a small circumstance that's happening. I have one I'm thinking about right now. It's just uncomfortable. Now, I want you to imagine you observing that circumstance and take a deep breath. And as you observe it, you're looking at it as if you're in the room. Now move that energy and take a deep breath. And now you're standing above it, outside the room, as if you're just watching from above. And then take a deep breath and expand outside the house that you're in. And take another deep breath and expand outside the town that you're in. And then take another deep breath and expand outside the state that you're in. And be aware of what this circumstance is looking like. Does it look the same? Does it feel the same? Now pull all the way outside of the country you're in. Now pull all the way outside of the planet and observe that circumstance. And take a deep breath and open your eyes. And was it even relevant anymore? When you're looking at it from that far perspective, yeah, people are saying gone. Drop a 3 in the comments if when you did that and you observed it from that outside the world, looking down at that circumstance, if it was even relevant anymore. Was it still there? Those are circumstances, you guys, that we give our energy to. Wow, that is a lot of threes, you guys. Woo, I got chills. That's a lot of threes. Those are the circumstances, you guys, you give your energy to that drain you. Those are the circumstances that you give your energy to, that you take up your day, and then you do emotional responses. Remember what I said, that is your biggest liability, based on these things that when you take that ego perspective and you pull all the way out of the situation, are not even relevant. Drop a 5 in the comments if whatever situation you were thinking about today exists in your life in 5 years. If that situation, you probably even remember it in 5 years. Drop a 5 in the comments if whatever situation you were thinking about is still going to be a situation 5 years from now. And now they're 5s. Because that situation, now for some of you, it might, because you're continuing to create the issue in your mind. When you continue to create the issue in your mind, you're not choosing from choice, and you're not choosing from presence to make a new choice. Remember what I said, you're making choices based on your ego saying, I made this, so I have to continue in this direction, versus, does this even serve me anymore? Is this even relevant anymore? You guys, the ego perspective allows us to get out of the me, I win, because to be completely honest, the ego doesn't care. The ego hunts its food and feeds its family regardless of what other people think about it. It doesn't care. If it sees its prey, it's going to kill that prey. And it doesn't ask its friends and everybody else for opinions of who it should pick for prey. There's something to this, you guys. It is a deeper knowing, and it is using your perspective to then make choices towards the outcome you desire. When something is really uncomfortable, this is how I always, like when I tell you always, if I'm feeling myself where I can't sleep, something's running through my mind, something's really like triggering to me, I will sit and I will pause and I will take that perspective to get a bird's eye view of what options are possible for me. Because when we see this, you guys, when we see these options, we can create something new. This is a true story. So I think some of you guys know I'm a retired professional dancer. I was a choreographer. And I was an award-winning choreographer. We had choreography win insane awards when I lived in Los Angeles. And I had phenomenal teams I would coach. And there was something I always did. I actually never, ever did I not do this. And I didn't know about this way back then either. I was in my early 20s, but I did this intuitively. When I choreograph any piece, and you guys, some of my pieces, we had like 96, 97 kids for these production numbers, like massive amounts of people. I would look at the choreography, not just from the front of the room. I would look at it from the back of the room. I would look at it from, I would actually climb a ladder and look at it from above. I would look at it from the back of the room through the mirror. I would record and look at it reflected. I would go into the theater and watch it from the side. I would watch it from the back. I would go to the back of the room and watch it from the top, because when I started to look at the choreography from all angles, I could see gaps. I could see things that needed to change. And people laughed at me because this is 100%. I did this every single piece I ever did. Nothing ever went on stage before I did it. I also watched my pieces upside down. I would do a handstand and I would watch the entire piece upside down, because I was looking for gaps. I was looking for something that I missed because I was only seeing things from this perspective. I was looking for, if I have a judge sitting over here, what are they going to see that I can't see if I'm looking at it only from my eyes? This allowed me to fill those gaps and create more than what I initially could see when I was only looking forward. Now, here's the hard part. We say in business all the time, like, put your glasses on and run, just run. Stop, don't get distracted, just run. The thing is, we want to keep our focus But without the perspective, if you just run and you're not paying attention to a predator, you could get taken out. A predator being a circumstance in your life, not like a person like coming to like eat you or something, but a circumstance in your life. And so that is why, remember what I said, this is so important because we have personalities in our business. Those personalities have emotions. Emotional business decisions cost us drastically. Now we have, say I have 800 and something people in my organization, okay? Like almost 900, I think. And those 900 personalities are all emotional reacting. That could be detrimental. Remember what I said. We have our, oh my gosh, see, now I have a total brain fart, and then that happens too. We have our liabilities, and then we have our assets. You actually have, so say 900 liabilities in my business. So how do I open perspective to create a safe place for business? The eagle protects its nest. The eagle protects its family. Your business is your nest. Your business is your family. The eagle does not eat their babies. Some of you need to stop flying down and ripping off the wings of your babies who, remember what I said, where there's friction, there's leadership. Where there's conflict, there's leadership. That's okay. You don't need to rip off their wings. Let them get up and fly. Let them get up and learn. At some point, those eagles are going to get out of the nest and go, and the mom does not stop them from doing that. That eagle does not have an ego. The eagle does not need to be the star of the show. The eagle needs to protect what it's created. That is important. That is so important, you guys. So hang on, I'm gonna look at this. Okay, so when you get that 360 perspective, when you survey and you look at your business, when you take that circumstance, that situation that you're dealing with right now, and you take that 360 perspective, now ask yourself, what's right about this I'm not seeing? These questions, you guys, when I tell you, these questions are things I ask every single day. These questions. So you guys know the mind actually, how the mind works is when you ask a question, the mind actually goes into action to answer it. That's how it works. This is why if some of you, there's like old school network marketing, and I actually still do it, where you can create circles, open circles on a page, and you can actually put in names to fill those circles as you recruit, because the mind will actually recruit to fill spaces. It's part of how our mind works. But the mind works in the same way with questions. When you ask a question, you unlock the potential to create something new. The same mind that created the problem or circumstance is not the mind that's going to get you out of the problem and circumstance, because the mind only knows that which it's already created. This is why, and they've done this with animals, different animals have taken on babies of other animals and raised them. It's the Jungle Book, the Disney Jungle Book, where the kid is raised, or Tarzan too, where they're raised by animals and they don't know different. That's actually because the mind cannot identify something until it has that experience to know what it is. We actually can't even see that. That again is perception. If you always thought like a cat was a dog or something, until you were shown different or told different, you would assume it was the same thing. And from babies, as babies, we get those cues from our parents or our environment to know what's right, what's wrong, what's safe. All of those things, actually, we get programmed within our brains from our environment, from our parents, how we're raised, where the experiences we have. You touch something hot, you learn that that's hot. Don't do that again. That burns you. So you learn those experiences. But that mind is not going to create a new solution for you. That mind is only going, when people say, let me think about it, I always say, don't think. Don't think, because thinking got you into this situation. Thinking it is not going to get you out. Being present in new opportunity, which exists in the present moment in choice. Remember, I had you breathe down here. I didn't have you breathe up here. That is where your new choices will be created. So write these down. What is right about this I'm not seeing? How can it get better than this? Now that's a good one, because how can it get better than this? You can ask when it's good. And you're so like, this is so good. I'm scared the rug's going to be pulled out from under me, because that's what a lot of you guys do. And so you keep yourself in a certain comfort zone, because if it's too good, God forbid, it's going to be taken away. No, how can I get better than this? Or when it's not good and it's really crappy, how can it get better than this? Because you have to acknowledge where you are, put your feet down, stand up. How can it get better than this? Do not limit your creation in your mind. What else is possible here? Possibility lives outside of what we already know. There is limitless possibility, and most of us do not tap into that because we're not willing to actually take the 360 perspective, because for a lot of you guys, that's scary. A 360 perspective gives you ultimate choice in all things. And when you have ultimate choice in all things, you also have responsibility in taking those choices. And many of you are living in a reaction environment where then you actually play the victim. And even in circumstances, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, perfect example of that, in the concentration camps, literally dead bodies all around him. The fact that he survived, lost his entire family. And that book, you guys, they could not take his mind. They could not take his choice. He chose every day to live. He chose what was in there. He continued to make a choice outside of his current circumstances. And that was a problem. Where he was dealing with was a problem. But he chose outside of those circumstances. And because of that, has wrote one of the most phenomenal books ever, to be completely honest, on perspective, perception, and also forgiveness. Because when we hold on to what things we think they should be, versus on the reality of the perspective of actually what they are, this is where we get stuck in cycles, and we get into, oh, they owe me an apology, or I'm owed this, or I'm owed that. I'm going to break news to you guys. You guys are owed nothing. Some of the things you guys think you're owed right now is one of your greatest limitations in creating financial wealth in your life, because you think people from last year owe you an apology and you can't move on because they owe you something. No one owes you anything. You are exactly as you are. The only thing owed to you is that you in this moment have the choice to breathe and choose. That's it. That's it. Nothing is owed to you. That is a limitation that you actually keep yourself in a debt cycle. That I could just literally talk on for a whole other day when it comes to receiving, but nothing's owed to you. What do I need to be, know, perceive, and receive? I'm going to say this one again. What do I need to be, know, perceive, and receive? Remember what I talked about perspective and perception, when you perceive different, but then are you willing to receive? Some of you guys have blocked out the receiving of the help of other people that could show up as friction or tension, but actually they have gifts to give you. As when we create a team, it is the differences that make us stronger, not our sameness. Our sameness actually creates friction. It's the differences that actually create the diversity of what can really expand beyond your limitations. If you want to grow a really solid business, you guys, you want to grow a really strong team, your diversity is key on this. Now, here's the last one, and I hope you guys really sit on this. What is right about me I'm not seeing? What is right about you, you're not seeing. You guys are so good at making yourselves wrong in all things that you very rarely make yourself right. And that version of constant separation of this is right and this is wrong actually keeps us away from the ego perspective, because the ego does not survey and say that's right and that's wrong. That's my right food. That's my wrong food. That's right. The ego just sees. It is just observation. It only exists. It just is. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. So instead of making yourself wrong, what is right about me I'm not seeing? What is right about this I'm not seeing? And what is right about me I'm not seeing? You may have to ask this question 100 times before you even feel a shift in it. But just asking these questions, you're going to feel a shift around your current circumstance that is causing disruption in your life right now. Do you know that you guys, all the rightness of you, all these circumstances coming at you, what if it all was exactly as it's supposed to be, to break the shell of the old version of you away so that the new version could step forward, that new version of you who actually owns $1 million business, who actually shows up as their highest version in the world. In order to show up as the highest version of yourself, old versions have to fall away. And old versions of yourself, there's no opinion of that. It is okay. Remember, like what I said, the ego doesn't care if his friend is upset that he went and hunted food for his family. But you guys really do. And it is preventing you. It is preventing you from expanding in your business. It is preventing you from creating a team of hundreds of thousands. I know this, you guys. I've had a team of 200,000 people. If you don't think there was all kinds of stuff happening in that business, it was like all kinds of stuff. And still, I would take the ego perspective to survey where was most important to put my attention. Because when you make those choices, you get to keep choosing. And if a choice doesn't show up and you're like, oh man, I made that choice, that wasn't a good choice, it's okay to say, whoops, I made a bad choice, I'm going to choose again. Whoops, that choice didn't work for me, I'm going to choose again. I actually don't like to say something's a bad choice. It was a choice, not the best choice for me at this moment, and I'm going to choose again. Because you get to keep choosing until you create your desired outcome. But only you can do it. No one can rescue you from your life. No one can rescue you from your choices. No one can rescue you from your situation. A situation will not just go away until you make it irrelevant in your own existence. You'll keep running it through your mind. It will actually keep showing up in other people if it's a lesson you need to learn. So until you address it, it will just keep showing up. It'll be a different, this is why people say, oh, I married 4 people and they were exactly the same, they were different people, but the same situations happened over and over, because it's a mirror of what you need to learn. And that is our current circumstances. The last thing I want to leave you with before I get off, you guys, the book I mentioned was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. The last thing I want you to think about, because the ego never worries about there not being enough food. The eagle has no concern about what other eagles are doing. In fact, there is a nest near where I live. It's a couple miles away. And often I see 2 eagles sitting in that tree together. And that's rare. But I also see them flying together. Your overflow isn't blocked. It's waiting for you to stop making everyone else feel comfortable. I'm going to say it one more time. Your overflow isn't blocked. It's waiting for you to stop making everyone else feel comfortable. The ego doesn't care who is comfortable around it or not. In fact, it is one of the greatest predators there is. It does what it needs to do. It lives how it's designed to live. And because of that, it is one of the greatest creatures everywhere. If you guys have ever seen one, it literally takes your breath away. Their wingspan and how big they are and how they actually fly, the way their rhythm. Your overflow is blocked by these things that you have like put on you as these circumstances to try to keep you safe. Let's let all of this go, you guys. Let's take a deep breath and take that ego perspective. Let's not let our liabilities with our emotions, which you all have, define the outcome of our business. And let's use the choices we make every 10 seconds to define how we're going to show up, the relationships we desire in our business, and move towards our desired outcome. All right, you guys. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was useful for you guys. I hope you guys took some notes there. Every single one of you. How can it get better than this? Just keep asking, because it is limitless in what you guys can create here. And we have all the tools in Vital Health and the support team around you to do that. All right, you guys, have an awesome, awesome week. Thank you for spending so much time with me, and I will see you soon. All right, bye.